Bleh.
Probably the highlight of my watching season thus far. This was such a fucking fun romp. Every year, Shudder has been blessing us with a new VHS anthology, and this year is no different with VHS Halloween. We get a whole collection of Halloween-themed videotapes that unleashes a series of twisted, blood-soaked tales, turning trick-or-treat into a struggle for survival. I say this every year, but it's true. I will never get tired of watching these VHS movies. Bring them on, baby. Whatever may be the case. And they get better and better and better every year, man. And I'm looking forward to someday going back and revisiting like the best segments, man. Well, I'll probably watch the movies in full. I would say this year was not as good as last year's or the years before that. The one where they come back from hell is like, or the game show one. Those are from the last 2 years. This had some really good ones though. And I have the Wikipedia open so I can remember. So the wraparound, we have Diet Phantasma, which is the framing narrative, and that's directed by Bryan M. Ferguson. And it's kind of like for in-house purposes only. There's this experiment. It's like a testing video. The Octagon Company is planning to launch. They have this new soda. It's called Diet Phantasma. They just bring in various test subjects to try this formula for the beverage before it's put out onto the shelves. However, all of the subjects aren't aware, or you're not really sure if they're aware or if they're unaware. All the subjects are unaware that the soda is made with the extract of various ghosts and supernatural entities. We don't learn what the punchline is until the end credits roll, which I thought was really great because they're kind of like amorphous. You know what I mean? Like we just see the same thing happening over and over again. Although I would say the deaths are getting more and more intense as they're trying to perfect the formula. Eventually, what happens is they open up the can, they take a sip, they meet a horrible, gruesome end in a variety of ways. Sometimes the can tries to like suck them into the can, or like tentacles come out of the can, or they spew sludge, they get possessed, all sorts of stuff. They explode, and then the room has to be cleaned up, and they have new subjects. It's headed up by this guy who's named Rothschild, which I don't like that his name is Rothschild because it implies something, but whatever. I'm not going to get into that. His name's Rothschild, and he's just this really sadistic who's sort of indifferent to the danger that they're in when they're sort of have this Diet Phantasma. I love that Diet Phantasma. They got to print out shirts. That's just so great. And then at the very end, we're left with this advertisement for this new Halloween beverage. I love that. It's kind of like a play up on like Tab, like Diet Coke soda culture of the 80s. It's pretty great. Next up is Coochie Coochie Coo, and this is directed and written by Anna Zlokovic. Oh, this was great. Bunch of girls. They're trick-or-treating. They're too old to be trick-or-treating. They're going door to door in this neighborhood, and the people in the neighborhood are kind of annoyed that they're so old trick-or-treating, and they're kind of being a nuisance. They're being nuisances in the kind of way, the very classic Tales from the Crypt, like bad people doing bad shit and then bad shit happens to them, right? Which I said before when I was talking about Demon Night last week. And yeah, so they're going around trick-or-treating. They're going to go off to college next year. This is kind of like their last hurrah. It's kind of a goofy last hurrah. They have a camcorder. This takes place in 2009, I think they said. And they go inside this house, right, where this cheerleader had disappeared a year before. And they are basically locked in this house that's covered in rancid milk. There's like this ghost mommy. I guess I didn't realize this. She had became pregnant as a result of SA, that kind of, assault. She ended up ending herself by cord around neck region from a rafter. Now you have like these ghost children. Now, this is kind of different because maybe it's because it's like the found footage, but like when you're sort of projected into the situation in a first person sort of way, Blair Witch style, it's a lot scared. This is where the ghosts scared me. I was scared by this. And they're basically trapped in this house, and there are these there's like this big fat baby guy. They're just slowly getting like absorbed by the house and becoming the children of this mother specter. They end up in the basement with her, sort of surrounded by her. But what's really gross is like you see all this milk just lying around, and it's just imagine like the idea of spending eternity in this sort of haunted house, this dark haunted house, drinking rancid milk from this ghost mommy. It's really disturbing. It's freaky deaky, man. It's freaky friggin' deaky, and I loved it. It was really great. On to the next segment. This is called, I didn't know the name of this one. It's called Ut Supra Sic Infra, and this was the weakest segment for me. I didn't really know what was going on. There's like an Italian medium, and there's like a mass murder that occurs during a Halloween party, and everybody loses their eyes. It's super weird, right? And this guy survives, and he's interrogated by the police. We cut back and forth, and we see what kind of happened to them. They have this whole thing with an old telephone. There's a telephone in the center of the room. So I guess the translation is as above, so below. I don't know. It doesn't really go anywhere. He eventually leads the police back to the scene of the crime, and the police also get their eyeballs all sucked out. The thing is, the way that it's framed is we don't really know what happened to them, and we kind of see flashbacks, and then we see it happen to police, and I don't know, they're floating in the fucking air, and I didn't get it, man. I didn't get it. It was kind of a surreal short segment. Didn't really work for me. Wasn't a fan. This one seems to be very popular among social media. It's called Fun Size. Was written, directed by Casper Kelly. In keeping with the previous segment, this year the segments were kind of surreal, right? Like they're not really like framed in like traditional story narrative. So you got 4 adults leaving the Halloween party. It seems to be, it's in the same neighborhood as where Coochie Coo happens, because you see the neighbors who are from that segment who are now annoyed, and they find this bowl of weird candy in front of this house. There's a sign that says 1 per person, which is a common, trope, right? And that's what I love about things like, hey, let's do a segment around the idea of 1 per person. You know what I mean? So many fun, wonderful aspects to explore when it comes to Halloween, right? And so they each take one of the candies, and one of them is like really like phallic and has like white cream inside. And I don't know, they get transported via this very strange hand comes out of the bowl. Like it's just unexplained. They go to another dimension. I don't know. This hand clad in red pops out of the bowl of candy, sucks them in. They get sucked in through the bowl of candy into this weird warehouse where this candy is made, and they are basically being stalked. This ghost, this specter, this candy mascot named Fun Size. He does have supernatural abilities. He has machines that transform people into candy, right? You go on the conveyor belt and you get chopped up and turned into candy. And there's this whole subplot with this woman who is engaged. Of the 4, there's 2 couples, and this woman is engaged to this guy she doesn't really want to be, and we find that out, and then it comes back to bite him later on when she escapes and leaves him or whatever. It's just a zany like jaunt around this crazy factory, and they're trying to avoid being turned into candy, and it's just so fun. This one guy, he gets sent down the conveyor belt and he just gets chopped up, and everything gets covered in chocolate, and he gets his balls and his dick get turned into candy. It's just great, man. Super great, zany, batshit fun that doesn't really like try to explain itself and doesn't need to explain itself. It just is, and it works, and I was happy with it. The next segment is Kid Print, written and directed by Alex Ross Perry. This is probably as dark as I've ever seen VHS go. Basically, this guy, he owns this business called Kid Print, right? They're documentary videos that are used to ID missing children. And there's like this string of child and teenager disappearances, and they turn up murdered and mutilated in the worst kind of ways. The owner of this business, this guy Tim, he's basically like trying to figure out what's going on. He keeps his video camera running, and Halloween is going to happen, and this is right around Halloween time, and we get these broadcasts about like the latest happenings of the disappearances, and kids are turning up and they're just getting like mutilated. Lo and behold, we find out it's one of his staff members. It gets dark. All these like young kids, some of it's implied and some of it is very, very in your face graphic. It almost like kind of borderlines on like Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, man. It's bleak. There's nothing really fun about it. There's a tongue-in-cheek sort of sense of things, because the guy who works in the back is the person who's culpable. But Tim gets murdered by 2 of the other guy's victims, and he gets away with it. And he starts up Kid Print. Tim ends up being the fall guy, and everybody is like horrified that he committed these crimes when he didn't, and now this guy can continue on doing his thing. And it's just really kind of cold and stark. And by the way, as this is all going on, you have the intercut diet phantasma sequences that are just getting crazier and crazier. And the final segment is the best of them all. Again, VHS Halloween, you just outdo yourself. I don't even know how to begin talking about how great this is. This is written and directed. It's called Home Haunt, and it's written and directed by Micheline Pitt-Norman and R.H. Norman. I guess they're a couple partners in life and otherwise. I don't know, husband and wife duo. I don't know. So basically, you got this kid and his dad, and they're doing a home haunt. And what is that? that? Like home haunts, like, a haunted house that you do, but not like a professional haunt, like an amateur one done by like just a guy on the street, where, you lock down the block, or you lock down your house. And, you've seen it on The Simpsons and whatnot, just a great subject to tackle. And this guy does his haunt every single year, right? Like he does it with his son. And when the son is young, it's a dad, a mom, and a kid. And when the kid is little, he loves doing it. And he's like the Igor assistant. And as he gets older, doesn't like doing it as much. And now he's like an adult and he's ready to move out. He's like, fuck you, dad. I don't want to do this anymore. And the dad's begging him to do it one more year. And they're going and they're looking around for props for their haunts, which is like kind of like a maze that they build in the front yard. They go to this place. Of course, they go to the forbidden section in the back. He finds this Halloween Horrors record, which he steals, right? The dad steals. And the dad is like this goofball who just loves Halloween. And the kid is like, he's older. He's like, fuck you, dad. He's like, he's too old for this shit. And, so it kind of like, it tackles that sort of very relatable subject. Like, your kid's getting older and you want to just do things that remind you of like what it was to grow up with your kid. I don't know. Basically, they play this record. And, in line, of course, is the hot girl from school that the kid loves. And he's embarrassed to have his hunchback. His dad is like Dr. Terror, and he's like Dr. Terror Jr., the mom. She's like an Elvira type. And people are lined up. The best part is the fucking neighbor with the fucking white ponytail who... He's like the guy's name, the dad's, his name is Keith. And so this guy with the fucking ponytail, he's like just this curmudgeon-y neighbor who hates that Keith does this stuff, also is like gonna participate just so that he could shit all over Keith. He's like, come on, Keith, this is so fucking fake, And of course, it's setting us up. All the attractions in the maze, they all come to life, especially this witch. And the witch bookends the beginning when they're painting the witch. Like the attractions literally come to life. It reminds me of like the frat house in the very first VHS. It's like you're on a roller coaster trying to escape this insane situation. It's fucking brutal. Nobody is safe. Kids get killed. Everybody gets killed except for the family. And it kind of just ends with hell on earth. There are no words to describe it. You just have to experience it, man. It's the best of the best of the best of that's what makes the VHS series so great. Stuff like this. And I can't recommend it enough. And then at the very end, we find out that Diet Phantasma is made with like poltergeists. And that's why it is what it is, and that's all that it is. It's streaming on Shudder. If you've never seen, it's a great way to sort of explore the VHS series. If it's your first time, that's the beauty of the VHS series. You could just jump in anywhere and just enjoy it because it's anthology, man, and just anthology is anthology, and that's great.